Katy Trail is the longest rails-to-trails bike trail in the entire United States, stretching almost from Kansas City to St. Louis. From Clinton, Missouri, it heads up towards the Missouri River, then follows the Missouri River all the way into St. Louis. With the help of 4 experienced bikers, I set out to conquer this trail. 4 of us would start out from Clinton, Missouri, traveling to the little town of Windsor. The 5th member of our party was coming in on the Rock Island Trail and would meet us in Windsor. It had been unseasonably hot, and we were a little worried that this was going to be a hot trip. But just before we left, rain moved in. Not a good thing either, but it let up just before we hit the trail. So we ended up with the best of everything. No rain and cool weather. The only problem left was the crushed sandstone on the trail was left wet by the rain, and it made it a little bit mushy, harder to bike through.
This is good.
Okay, are you ready?
Yep.
With starting pictures finished, we were ready to hit the trail. It was already pretty late in the afternoon, and all we wanted to do was get to our place where we were going to camp out for the night. This little ride to Windsor was also a good checkout ride. We could stop and make last-minute adjustments to things that didn't work quite right.
Yeah, they were telling me about some place by the river that's like a hippie joint. Like some kind of hippie joint.
Well, we have made it to our first campsite, complete with shower and bathroom. But we're camping. Luxury camping. And we met up with our 5th biker who was coming in from the Rock Island Trail. All was good. Welcome to the fine little town of Windsor. First night. We're up this morning looking for some food. And right over here is this fine little restaurant called the Sidetrack Cafe. This will be breakfast this morning. After breakfast, it was time to pack up camp and hit the trail again. But now we had our complete group of 5 riders. It was a long road with nothing but miles of trail and endless trees. So imagine our surprise when out of the middle of nowhere we ran across a significant point of the entire ride. It is the highest point of the Katy Trail. It turned out that we had been going uphill for quite some time, and just outside of Windsor a little ways, we found the highest point of the trail. After that, it started downhill except for one little ride up into Pilot Grove, which was pretty tough, but then it was downhill all the way to Boonville. But we didn't know about the climb into Pilot Grove, so in our minds, we'd hit the highest point. It was all downhill from here. We left in great spirits.
Yeah, this side's not bad either.
But this was actually going to be our hardest day, the most miles and the most elevation. As mile after mile wore on, fatigue finally started to set in. Walking your bike for a while could give some relief. One of our riders made a frequent habit of this, earning him the title of Sir Walk-a-Lot. But finally we reached the town of Sedalia and we were getting hungry. Welcome to Sedalia. Right off the Katy Trail, which is right there. It's a little Phillips 66 gas station. And then this place, little Mexican restaurant where we are going to have lunch. Uh-oh.
That scared me. Nope. 2 drops. Might just do it.
It was a wonderful lunch of authentic Mexican food. If you ever go to Sedalia, I highly recommend that you eat here. Or maybe it was just that we were hungry from a long ride, but we thought it was pretty good. But lunch done, it was time to get back to the trail. We still had a lot of riding left to do today. The Katy Depot in Sedalia is quite an elaborate place, complete with a museum showing the history of the railroad in Sedalia. This is one of the many places it would have been fun to stop and take a tour, but when you're riding the trail you got to get to camp, and we didn't have time to do much but take pictures and move on. One of the interesting aspects of riding the Katy Trail is road crossings. There are several of these, and not only do you have to watch for traffic, but there are bars to keep other vehicles besides bicycles from entering the Katy Trail. We like to call these bicycle sobriety tests, because it's quite a challenge to slow down, be ready for the bump up to the road, watch for traffic, and make it through the little gate without scraping all at the same time.
Don't hit me.
Soon the terrain started to change. We started seeing more hills, more places where the trail had been carved out of the rock, and more dense forest. It was very beautiful, but it should have been our clue that we were not going to get it downhill the rest of the way. Our second clue was just outside the little town of Clifton when we ran into the bridge across the Lamine River. Rivers usually don't go at the top of the hill, they go at the bottom of the hill. And after this bridge, it was all uphill into Pilot Grove, a long, steady hill climb. It was a quite beautiful ride, though. We even got to go through a culvert. That was quite a treat.
Let go. Sounds kind of cool.
One by one, everyone finally made it up the hill. We were pretty exhausted, but now we got a long downhill into Boonville, and that was just about coasting most of the way.
Well, that was a hill. Yep.
The next highlight on the way into Boonville was crossing I-70. I've driven to St. Louis many times, and I've seen this bridge from the road a number of times. Always wondered what it would be like to be up on the Katy Trail. Finally, I was here, riding across I-70 on the bridge I had seen so many times from down below. After a long, hard ride, we finally arrived in Boonville. The Boonville train depot provided a great place for a well-deserved rest after a long, hard day.
Oh, I have some, yes. Oh, shoot.
And then it was time for more important things. We had to go find something to eat. The Main Street Cafe provided a perfect example of Midwest hospitality and great food.
With blue cheese dressing, please.
Blue cheese, absolutely. Do you want gravy on your mash?
Yes, please.
Brown or white gravy?
White.
White? It is the sausage gravy, just letting you know, dear.
Okay.
Rested and well fed, we were now ready to make the perilous crossing over the Missouri River. This narrow path provided a bit of excitement to the trip, but we all made it okay, and next stop was the Katy Roundhouse, the place where we were going to make our home for the night. It was a beautiful, secluded site with lots of flat space for tents. Exhausted from a long day, we quickly made our camp and went to sleep. Morning, day 3. Packing up the camp, getting ready for the most beautiful part of the trail. We woke to a lot of dew on the tents. There was no time to get them dried off because we wanted to get an early start on the trail so we would get to camp on time.
Ready to go.
Wow, this is a pretty good campsite. You got a couple of pictures, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if I ever got any of everything set up.
Yeah, I keep forgetting to do that.
I took one before we took the tents down.
Oh, good.
Today's ride would take us from our camp in Franklin, down the Missouri River, through Jefferson City, the capital of Missouri, and then finally to the small town of Tibbetts, where we would camp for the night. This was supposed to be some of the most beautiful scenery on the entire Katy Trail, and I was quite excited about seeing what was in store for the day. But first things first, we set out in search of breakfast.
Hello, Steve, you're going the wrong way.
As promised, it didn't take long for the scenery to turn really pretty. We had the limestone bluffs on one side with some caves occasionally, and the river on the other side. It was starting to be a really pretty hike. Even the forests were looking more dense and rich. We finally arrived at the entrance to Rockport, a popular tourist destination with wineries, rolling hills, and lots of quaint little shops. The entrance to Rockport was quite impressive by itself, a large rock tunnel to go through.
Hey, I can hear you now.
We soon arrived at the Bike Shop Cafe in Rockport. It was obviously the place to be. There were a lot of bicycles and a lot of people. And breakfast, most importantly.
You know, this kind of looks like a place for bikers. I'm gonna grab us a table.
Yes, this place had it all. Good food and lots of bicycles. Even drone coverage. Too bad I don't have that footage. Now, with full stomachs and final pictures taken, it was time to hit the trail again. We had a long way to go today.
That is so cool. It's like they're working on the bridge. Single file. I'll drop back.
Yes, we had finally come to I-70 again and had to cross under. I remember driving to St. Louis lately, and there was lots of construction going on at this bridge, so now I knew exactly where we were.
Yep.
We kept seeing these limestone caves, so we finally had to stop and explore one.
Be a spring.
The bats are trying to protect the bats.
It turns out that Dave was our local caving expert and had explored this cave in the past. We didn't have time today, but he told us all about it.
Just little holes, but some of them are nice, like this one.
I'll go back to the first one.
Oh, at least 3/4 mile. Yeah.
As we continued, the scenery lived up to all the hype. It was a beautiful part of the trail, no doubt.
Hello. Hi. So I haven't had any sleep now for a day, almost 2 days. Finally crashed, and we're asleep for about 3 hours, and then they woke me up and said, hey, it's time to go back to Kansas City.
Tonight we were staying in an old building in the tiny town of Tibbetts that had been set aside just for the use of Katy Trail riders. It was likely that there would be no place to find food in a small town like that, so we were wondering what to eat.
We are officially at the North Jefferson Station, close to Jeff City. It's about 12 miles from our sleeping spot tonight, and then we finished yet another day.
On the bulletin board at one of the depots, we found a posting by a lady who lived in that town. She offered to make meals for anyone who ordered ahead of time and deliver it right to the place on the Katy Trail. So that's what we did. We arrived to an awesome home-cooked meal and hit the spot. Nobody went hungry that night.
Okay, everybody look up and smile.
Oh yeah, they got. I forgot they had the smile. I had a natural.
Kind of that worn out smile. Whoop.
I'll get it. Don't worry. It won't get too far. I'm on it.
So we have arrived in Tibbetts, which is a small town that has one thing that we need. Well, it has a church, that's a good thing too, but mostly it's this Katy Trail shelter. Basically an old building full of beds, and you can just plop down and sleep here. How cool is that? Meet our friend Jeff. I'm making a video.
Oh.
Say hi to YouTube.
Oh, hello, YouTube.
Inside, this air-conditioned loveliness. As you can see, it's like summer camp. And here we have the camp master himself.
Welcome to Camp Tibbetts.
The next morning, we packed up and hit the trail again. Today's ride was going to take us from Tibbetts to the little town of Marthasville, continuing to follow the Missouri River. Those of us who had packed backpacking food had breakfast, but the rest of them went off in search of a restaurant somewhere. We thought that perhaps Portland would have some food, but after a brief search, we couldn't find anything open. We had to survive on the snacks we had brought along. The path continued along the Missouri River, and occasionally there'd be some great places to stop and take a break. The next chance for food was quite a ways away. After a long ride and a few rests, we finally arrived at Hermann, Missouri. It was about lunchtime, so we went to look for food.
You guess I'm stopping.
At this point, we realized we'd just passed up the exit to go to the local grocery store, so we turned around and went off the trail to find the grocery store.
So we have reached Hermann, Missouri, and just off the trail we have found a little grocery store. So this is where we're going to do lunch, I guess.
Lunch finished, we headed back down to the trail. We had to find the tunnel that we had been in, and the first time we found out that singing sounded really good in this tunnel, so we dubbed it the Singing Tunnel. It turned out that there were several tunnels we went through like this, the last one being just before Marthasville.
Hello! Hello! Love those tunnels.
After a long ride, it's pretty exciting to finally arrive at your destination for the night, and things get a little crazy sometimes.
Make us file an incident report!
We had finally arrived. The night before, there had been one other visitor staying with us in the shelter, and he pulled into Marthasville right behind us.
Jeff has arrived.
Our accommodations in Marthasville was the local ball field, so we went to settle in. Behind the concession stand in the complex in the middle was a bathroom, complete with showers, so we had everything we needed right here. We were told we could pitch our tents anywhere we wanted except on the ball field itself. Not only that, but we got free entertainment for the night. Then everyone decided to go off in search of a place to eat, but someone had to stay with our things to keep an eye on it. So I took one for the team. It's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it. Once we'd all eaten, we set up our camp and settled in for the night. One thing I have to say about Marthasville, they make a mean breakfast in the Rowdy Rooster. You have to look at the sign very carefully because on top of the building it says the Marthasville Hardware Store. But it's really the Rowdy Rooster.
Wonderful place to eat breakfast. Highly recommend.
With full bellies, we took to the trail again in the now familiar cadence of eat, ride, walk, ride, and ride some more. This was interrupted occasionally by avoid vehicles that are working on the trail.
Well, had to get a rare moment with all 5 of us on camera, you know?
The serene countryside finally gave way to the sights and sounds of more structured environment as we entered the city. We finally arrived at our destination, St. Charles, Missouri. That is, all but one of us. We were missing one rider. We finally found that he had gotten a flat tire just a little ways out, and we had to go back and walk him to the end.
We have no air pressure. I need pressure. Air pressure.
How far back were you?
Just in that, you know that new detour where the trail was all being torn up by construction and you went down and around and up.
Okay.
It had real rough gravel.
But finally, we had all arrived. We had finished riding the entire Katy Trail. We shared one last meal together, and while the ride may have been over, the memories and the experience would last for the rest of our lives.